So once again, good morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Now, as you know, we are halfway the lesson, and this was the scene which we had discussed the day before, means in the previous lecture. What is the name of the narrator?
Mr. Tanda.
And what is the name of the landlord and the landlady?
Mr. and
Mr.
Mrs.
and Mrs.
Bhandari.
Bhandari.
And the name of this girl?
Pramodika.
Pramandi.
Pramodini.
Sir, you can give a short explanation about before I was
Summary.
present.
Means yesterday's? Are you asking?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, no problem. Yes. First, I want to know from those who were present, uh, have we completed till here, till flower beds? Reading was over, I guess, till here. All those who were present.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so yesterday, see what we have read and what we have understood, I will just tell you that. What's the last thing? Yes, so the narrator, like Mr. Tanda, the narrator thought that he wants to help Bhandaris. He wants to help this family from being and Pramodni would run away. She would she would feel that she is partially not capable, like she is deaf and dumb. So that would make her feel that something is lacking. And what was lacking? The power of listening and the power of speaking that she did not have. And every now and then, when the visitors came, that would make her realize of her inability to speak and to listen. So, narrator gave an idea to the Bhandaris that you should write a cheat. In that cheat, you should write down that our daughter is deaf and dumb. Please give her some time. She will come and she will be friends with you. You just give her some time and do not try to make acquaintance with her. Do not try to be friendly with her too soon, as she might not be ready for that. So that would be written in the cheat and would be given to each and every new visitor whoever checked in the guest house. Every new visitor was informed beforehand with that envelope. Sealed envelope would be given to every new visitor who would check in, and that visitor would read the cheat in which it was already mentioned that this girl is deaf and dumb. So do not try to talk to her. Just give her some time. Let her come to you. And it was the idea was working really well. But one day a new visitor came, and his name was Mr. David. Mr. David was just around 25 years old. He was a young man, and he was very tired after a long journey. Though he had a sparkling face, and his eyes were like jet black eyes. So when Mr. David came in the guest house, Bhandaris, Mr. and Mrs. Bhandari welcomed him. They asked him about his journey. That was he comfortable during his journey, and would he prefer to take bath or would he have some beverages? Like Mrs. Bhandari also asked that would you like to have some tea or would you like to have some like hot bath? And for every question, Mr. David would just nod his head and would smile. Mr. David was like least bothered, they thought. Mr. David was not speaking up. He was just nodding his head and smiling and replying to the Bhandaris. He was not speaking a word, he was not uttering a single word. Whatever questions were asked by Mr. Bhandari or Mrs. Bhandari, he would just nod his head and give the answer, yes or no. And he would shrug his shoulders. So Bhandaris felt disconcerted. Means they were unsettled. They were not satisfied with his reply. because they were not they were not getting that. Why is he not speaking? Why is he just he just shrugs his shoulders, or he just nods his head, and he just says yes or no? But why not a single word from his mouth? Why? So that young man is Mr. David. Then he read the cheat because he was the new visitor, so he was given that sealed envelope as per the idea of Mr. Dhanda. Each and every visitor would get that sealed envelope in which there was a cheat in which it was written that our daughter is deaf and dumb, give us some time, and all that. The details were written. So, Mr. David, being the new guest in that guest house, got that envelope with his name written on it, Mr. David. And David read that. Mr. David read that cheat. He came to know that the daughter of this landlord and the landlady, that is Pramodni, she is deaf and dumb. When he read that, he was, he was curious. First of all, he was astonished, he was surprised. Then he was curious. He wanted to meet Pramodni. He was looking for her. He was searching for Pramodni here and there. But why? Why was he so curious? Why was he searching for Pramodni? That is what we have to read today. Did you understand? I think Aisha, you were asking.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, what about others? I think we have completed till here.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Pramodni was sitting near the flower beds. So, she was playing in the courtyard, in the veranda. She was playing outside. And Mr. David was looking for her. And now, let's see, why was Mr. David so curious? Why was he astonished? What do you think? Why is he behaving in a strange way, unlike the other guests who came to stay? What do you think?
He would also be dumb.
Who would also be them? Hmm, let's see. See, what is the scene? This is the guest house. Can you tell me who are these two people walking on the flower
Mr.
beds?
David and
Pramodini.
Modni.
Then who are those who are standing behind?
Mr. and Mrs. Bhandari.
And Mr. Danda.
Bhandaris. And David and Pramodni. Tanda is included. One more, I think, guest is there standing over there. Okay, let us read further and see what's there in the lesson. Yes, Aisha, will you read?
Okay, sir. The young man looked at all of us with a smile and and
Started
that
out.
darted out towards her. Now, now this is very strange. Mrs. Bhandari cried out in protest. How rude he is! He should not have ignored our request like this. The landlord put in more
Mildly.
mildly. I too was a bit upset, for it was obvious that our effort to save Pramodni's embracement from stranger was going to fail in the instance. After a few moments, we all walked out to Vedrand. The scene that confronted us was something we least expected to see. The strange young man was on
Reclining.
reclining on the grassy ground, and Pramodini was sitting on his lamp. She was showing her the flowers, and suddenly, like the sound of a gun exploding, the shrill animal-like laughter of Pramodini pi-
Pierced.
pierced the air.
Okay. See now, the young man. Here, the young man refers to Mr. David. The young man looked at all of us, smiled, and darted out towards her. So that young man means, as I said, Mr. David. When he read the cheat, he was astonished, he was curious to meet the girl, and he smiled. First of all, he smiled. See, he's not being rude. He smiled and then he darted out, meaning he's already given, made a sudden, quick movement, means just to rush out. He rushed out towards her. He just wanted to meet Pramodni. He could not resist himself. He was just curious to see the girl. So he ran out. Now, this is very strange. Mrs. Bhandari cried out in protest. How rude he is. So, Mrs. Bhandari, what did she think? Being a mother, she was concerned for a child that Mr. David is a rude guest. Like after reading the cheat, why does he go? I mean, why should he go? And why should he talk? Why should he try to talk to that girl, child? Because all other visitors, the guests, whoever came, they obeyed they just considered their request. But even after giving that envelope, Mr. David, he is not ready to listen to us, and he instead, on the contrary, he just ran out to meet the girl. So that is very rude. Why did he do so? Why did he disobey? He should not have ignored the request. So the landlord means Mr. Bhandari, he added, means he said, after Mrs. Bhandari, Mr. Bhandari added mildly. Mildly means as it is given over there, not showing any strong feelings. Just casually, Mr. Bhandari said that he should not ignore the request. The request which was written in that cheat, in that sealed envelope, Mr. David ignored that request. So that was not good at all. I too was a bit upset. I means Mr. Tanda, as he is the narrator. He says that he was also upset because he was also standing over there. And it is obvious to that our efforts to save Pramodni's embarrassment from strangers was going to fail in this instance. So whatever efforts they were putting in to save Pramodni from that humiliation, from that insult, was going to fail this time. Because as soon as Mr. David will try to talk to that girl, she will feel embarrassed. She will feel that again that she is lacking something. She cannot speak. So she will again run away from that new guest. So all of these three means Bhandaris and Mr. Danda, they ran after Mr. David as he ran outside for the girl. And after a few moments, when they walked outside, see, they are all standing on the veranda, as you can see over there, as I have shown you, they are all standing on the veranda. Mr. David, what was the scene? The scene that confronted us, presented itself. Confronted means whatever comes in front of you. So the scene that they saw when they went outside, they were standing on the veranda, and the scene that they saw was not at all expected. It was totally unexpected scene when Bhandaris and Mr. Dhanda, they went out. They did not expect to see the scene which they saw. What was the scene? That is very important. This line. The strange young man was reclining on the grassy ground. Reclining means to lean or lie back. You know, when you rest, you are in a good position, you are comfortably resting, you lie back to lean on the grassy ground. Sometimes we do it when you go in the garden. Got it? Reclining. So, who was reclining on the ground? Who was reclining?
Mr. David.
Yes. And what about Pramodni? Pramodni was sitting on his lap. Totally unexpected. He was showing her the flowers. So Pramodni had become friends with Mr. David. And within no time, that was the scene which was totally unexpected for the family and even for the narrator. That Mr. David was reclining on the ground and Pramodni sitting on the lap and Mr. David showing her the flowers. They were they were having a good time. And this never happened before with any of the visitors who came. Suddenly, what happened when they ran out? What did they? What was there? The sound was heard. Sound of a gun exploding, like how the bullet is fired. At that time, there's a loud sound when you see the bullet is being fired. It is deafening silence. It is a loud noise. So suddenly, when they went out, they heard that sound like a gun exploding. And what was that? That was the shrill animal like laughter, like how the animals laugh so loudly in a way that is so hard, shrill, loud, and clear. Animal like laughter of Pramodni pierced in the air. Pierced means to break in. Like if I say bullet pierced in his body, so it went inside, pierced in the air. Here, the animal like laughter of Pramodni pierced in the air means the author wants to tell us that Pramodni was laughing out so loud and clear like never before. All around in the air, laughter was heard everywhere, shrill, loud, and this was astonishing for Kwandaris as well as the narrator. That what did Mr. David do in a few seconds? So, what do you think? How is that possible? Because Pramodni was a shy child, being disabled. She did not go to the narrator when he called her twice. So, what happened? Why was she so comfortable with Mr. David? And that too within no time. What do you think? Am I clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Read ahead. Who will read?
When I read,
Yes, continue.
the parents looked at each other with wonder and amazement. Our daughter has not laughed like this for years, Mr. Bhandari said. Curious, we watched the two of them who were now walking hand in hand. Pramodini then ran to her mother and danced about her with joy. She made her queer sound of mama, mama, and wildly pointed to the young man. It was Mr. David who came to our rescue. He soon realized that he was deaf and dumb too.
Okay, okay. So when they saw this scene, that Mr. David reclining on the ground, Pramodni sitting on the lap, and was showing the flowers to her, Pramodni laughing loudly, shrill laughter, animal like. When they saw, the parents were amazed, they were surprised, they were wondering, what is this? Was it a dream? It was really like a dream come true. So they were wondering and they were amazed. Our daughter has not laughed like this for years. See, this could be asked in who said to whom? Mrs. Bhandari said to her husband, or Mr. Bhandari, you can say, that this was the first time in so many years that they have seen their daughter laugh like this. She has never been so free and she has never been so happy in a while. So curious, we watched two of them were now walking hand in hand. As you have seen the scene already, I'll show you once again that they are both walking hand in hand. Yes, can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. David and Pramodni, they are walking hand in hand. So Pramodni then ran to her mother and danced about her with joy. So right now they are walking hand in hand. And after some time, Pramodni runs to her mother and she just starts dancing with joy, with excitement. She's so happy that she starts dancing. and she made cure sounds. Cure sounds means what? Strange, like very strange, which you have never heard before. That type of sounds, ma ma ma, and wildly pointed to the young man. So, did you understand what was she trying to speak?
Yes.
She just pointed towards the young man. Now here it could be two meanings. No? Ma ma. One is for the mother, and one is the uncle, isn't it?
Yes.
It could be two, like we have in that movie. Those who have seen, they know which
Yes.
one. The last scene of that movie,
Yes. Salman
Bajrangi
Khan's
Bhaijaan.
movie.
Bajrangi Bhaijaan.
Yesterday I saw.
Isn't it the
Yes.
same scene similar
Yes.
to
Yes.
this?
Yes.
So, and even she is pointing to him in that movie. Remember?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Yes, sir.
something like that. Because that girl also in that movie has met someone for the first time in her life, was so concerned about her and took care and was comfortable and was understanding her. So, here also it is the same. Mr. David understood Pramodni. He did not try to be very, very curious or very rude. He just gave her some time. And what is the reason that you will know now? It was Mr. David who came to our rescue. Came to our rescue means when Pramodni was dancing and she was making cure sounds of ma ma ma, and she was so excited, she was out of control, and Mr. David had to calm her down. Mr. David came and he had to calm down Pramodni, and we soon realized that he was deaf and dumb too. So the family, Miss Bhandaris, they realized that the new guest, Mr. David, was also deaf and dumb. Now, did you get it? Why were they so friendly with each other? They had good chemistry. What
Yes.
was the reason? Why was Pramodni so comfortable with the new guest? Mr. David knew the trick. Mr. David knew how to behave with this kind of special child, unlike the other visitors. So Mr. David was deaf and dumb too, and that was the reason he had the power to make the girl happy. Yes, continue reading.
Can I read?
Yes.
The next day, Mr. Bandari was full of news.
Mrs.
Mrs. Bandari was full of news. She mentioned the stranger and the plans for the betterment of Pramodni he had outlined to her and her husband. There were schools for such people, he had told them, though they were beyond most people's means. He had himself been educated in one such institution abroad and had now returned to India to render the same useful service to others. By starting a school here, she almost broke down with gratitude when she said that he had agreed to accept Pramodni as his first pupil. He had apathetically,
Emphatic, emphatically.
apathet- emphatically stated that the girl could, in the course of time, live almost as normal a life as any one of us who had powers of hearing and of speech. Mrs. Bhandari laughed like a carefree girl. She saved us an extra helping of jam and butter and honey at the table. She looked the happiest woman in the world.
Okay. So now, Mr. David had come like a silver lining in the cloud, as the name of the lesson says. The silver lining. And as I had explained it to you, every cloud has a silver lining. Remember that proverb which I had explained? Every
Yes.
bad situation has some good aspect. So here, Mr. David has come as a silver lining to this family.
I think Alma's raised a hand. I don't know. I think somebody raised a hand.
Yes, Almas. Okay.
No, sir.
Then, who is it? Anyone who had raised hand? Can unmute the mic. Anyone? By mistake, I think. Okay. So, the next day, Mrs. Now that day, which you already saw the scene, that day got over, and next day, Mrs. Bhandari was full of news. Like Mrs. Bhandari was so excited, and she had much to share with the new guest, Mr. David. Mrs. Bhandari got a ray of hope that her child was so comfortable with this new guest, and now Mrs. Bhandari is trying to talk to that man, Mr. David. She mentioned the stranger. She mentioned the stranger and the plans for betterment of Pramodni. He had outlined to her and her husband. So Mrs. Bhandari told Mr. David that we have got some plans for Pramodni's future. We have outlined some plans. Means we have already prepared some plans. We have already got something which we have prepared for her for a better future. We want her to we want her to speak in a way that she can express herself. So we have outlined some plans for her future, and there were schools for such people. He had told them, though they were beyond most people's means. So you know that there are schools for special children. Have you seen? Here also we
Yes.
have. So this kind of children, they are sent to a special school. But though they are beyond most people's means many of them don't know about it, and many of them could not reach there. So schools are there, but they are beyond most people's means. They are unable to reach there for some reason. Maybe they don't know, it is out of their knowledge, or for some other reason. But the schools are there for this kind of special children. He had himself been educated in one such institution abroad. So he means Mr. David. Mr. David was also a specially challenged person over here. Mr. David was also in the same category as of Pramodni. He had also been studied in this kind of school abroad, in foreign country, and he had returned to
Your
India
screen
to
is gone.
render the. Yes,
Sir, your screen is gone.
my screen has gone. Okay, so Silet, yeah, I think Mariam presented it. Okay, yes, now you can see. So, Mr. David had returned India to render the same useful services to others. Render means to provide the service as it is given over there. Mr. David had studied in the same kind of school of the special children, and he has come back to India. Why has he come back? He wants to give these services to the children like him, and he wants to start a school for the children like Pramodni. Did you understand, all of you? And did you all understand?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
She almost broke down. She means Mrs. Bhandari. She broke down. She got emotional with gratitude. Gratitude means she wanted to thank this person, Mr. David, who has come as a silver lining in their family. She has she was wanted to show her gratitude. She was very thankful to this man, and he agreed to accept Pramodni as his first pupil, means first student. Mr. David agreed that Pramodni would be the first student of his new school, the school for the special children, which he was going to open soon. He had emphatically stated, emphatically means giving surety, assuredly. He had emphatically stated that the girl could, in course of time, live almost as normal life as any one of us who had the powers of hearing and of speech. So understand these last two lines. Mr. David gave a commitment to Bhandaris that this girl, means your daughter Pramodni, will be as normal as the the people who can speak and who can hear, means like us. She will live a normal life as soon as she joins the school. In no time, she will live a normal life. He will teach him, he will teach her how to express the feelings, how to talk in a sign language. There are different courses for this kind of people. So he said that Pramodni would in no time will live a normal life like any one of us. And Mrs. Bhandari laughed like a carefree girl. Means she like a tension that was there on their mind, like they were so tensed about her future, and so they were so worried. So now they are carefree, as as Mr. David has already promised to take Pramodni as the first pupil. And what happened then? Mrs. Vandari, she gave some extra jam and butter and honey at the table to this new guest, Mr. David. As she was so happy, so she gave some extra, snacks, jam, butter, honey, that additional stuffs to this new guest. As they were so happy, and she looked like the happiest woman in the world. She was so happy being a mother. Nothing could make her so happy as the fact that her child was going to be normal in no time, and that was just because of this man, just because of this new guest, Mr. David. Tell me, did you all understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, right. So we complete the lecture. We shall continue. We'll read the notes later on.
Bye, sir.
Read the chapter.
Hi, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank
bye
you.
everyone.
Bye, sir.
Bye,
Have a nice
sir.
day.
Bye,
Bye,
sir.
sir.